Hi viewers, welcome to yet another episode of Beyond Academics. I am your Dr. Elizabeth Washball. So look, today we are having a very interesting topic that is research proposal. So I'm going to explain the importance of research proposal, the elements of the research proposal, and in detail I'm going to explain each element. So I hope you will like this video. So come, let's have a look. So today we have an interesting topic. I told you, the research proposal. So I'm going to explain to you the importance of research proposal. So why is it important? Why do you think research proposal is important? Because it's a small framework of what your thesis is going to look like, right? So here, if you see, whether you're a master's student, whether you're a doctorate student, a research proposal, you know it's an important thing. So basically, it gives you the insights of what your future entails. That is basically your how a thesis should look like. And basis and on the more poorly designed research proposal, what happens? There are clear chances of rejection. So a research proposal, when I say, it has to be with a purpose, which is very important. So, but what happens? It takes a lot of time to get the things right. To get things right. So you have to spend a lot of time and energy to get your research proposal right, and it's a vision of how your future work would be. That is basically your thesis would be. So this is just to give you an idea why a research proposal is important. Now let's have a look at the elements of the research proposal. So when I say elements of research proposal, what first comes into mind? First, you need a proper introduction. You need an introduction, or you can say a background of your research question or the issue that you would likely to talk about. And especially here you have something which is very important, which is called as the identification of gap in your current research, right? Number 2 is your research question. If possible, you have to explain your thesis statement, which is going to answer your question. Third one, I will explain in detail. I'm just explaining what are the elements of the research proposal. Don't worry, I will explain. The next one, the third one, is your justification of your proposed research. So when I say, what does it mean? You have to explain why the research is needed here. Why? Why am I doing it? Why am I studying about sustainability? Why am I studying about green economy like that? Okay. Let's just give you a general idea only. The fourth one is your important thing, preliminary literature review, which you have to explain about what other works, seminal works that people have done. Okay, have already done in your particular area. The next one is your theoretical framework. That has to be used in your proposed work. The sixth one is your statement or the contribution of your research. The seventh one is your main thing, that is your proposed research methodology, which is very, very important. The eighth one is your research plan and the outline. Okay. The ninth one is your timeline of your research. And the last but not the least would be your references. When you're told about, when you explained about your literature review and all that, so what are the references that you've given? So this is like the 10 elements of the research proposal. Apart from this, there are a few more elements that you have to talk about in your research proposal. Come, let's have a look. Citations of the research, explaining with your scope, has to be mentioned here. The resources that you're going to use, for example, it's laboratory or equipment, okay, depending on the field of study that you have done, and statement of the where, how the results would be, you can say the results would be collected. And the last one is your background of the researcher and the suitability of the task. So these are the 15 or 14, 14 elements of the research proposal. So this is very important. Elements of research proposal, let's look at in detail. So the first one I was telling about, the first one, what is the first one? Yes, the introduction section. So introduction section, you can say it can run for 2 paragraphs, where you have to start with your general idea and then narrow it down to a specific area, especially your field of study. And here you have to explain something called as the thesis statement, which is very, very important. Say thesis statement. When I say thesis statement, what does it mean? What do you think? So it's basically a tentative, a proposed answer to your question. So now I've explained what introduction section would entail. Now, how do you put it in practice? I'm just giving you a small example from my research work. I cannot explain much, but about my work, I'm just giving you an example. So, for example, if I'm talking about my migrant workers, one of the study I've done, you can see my research gate papers or Google Scholar. You can Google and see. So, I am when I talk about the introduction section, how I am supposed to write, or so I am taking a general industry which is called as a construction industry. So I have to give a background about how the Indian construction industry would look like. Okay, so this is a general idea, and from that I am narrowing it down my work to migrant workers. Okay, can be migrant workers. Few people would have studied migrant female workers. So what your study is. So that's what I said, from a general to a specific field you should draw. So the whole introduction part should look like a story that any common man could read and understand. Or okay. So it should be like a story with a flow of facts. So this is how an introduction section should look like. I hope you have understood how to write an introduction section. Please, thumbs up on that. Is your research question. So when I say research question, it should not be just a question. It should be a statement of what you want to investigate. So to get an idea about it, always read literature or existing works to give you a more idea about how a research question should be framed. One is justification of your research proposal. So if you look at Perry paper 2003, he mentions 4 essentials that you have to include the justification of the research proposal. One is your size of the industry or the area. Next, the gaps that is used in the literature. Then the improved methodology or the unusual methodology that you come across, with the benefits and terms of the policy and practice. So these are the four things that a research proposal, that is basically you are explaining the question of why am I doing. So why did I study migrant workers? I know existing works do happen, but this component, this variable, people haven't studied. Why it is not being looked upon? So I'm taking up the study. So that is what it means by justification of the research proposal. And most important is preliminary literature review. When I say literature review, you have to detail, you have to be very, very precise about what others have done in the field. So, for example, in my construction industry, so I have to include what the authors have studied, what all they have studied in the migrant workers, what all competence they have taken. So, here, if you see what all you have to read is first, you have to see what are the major issues. That's what I said. Okay, major issues. You have to look at the variables that they have used. You have to look at the gaps in the literature and very important research questions, methodology, what they have used, and what are the definitions of key terms that they have explained. And what are the another one more questions that is coming up and your head, like because you have to ask a lot of probing questions in the form of questions that comes in the terms of data collection and so on. So, like say one author has taken A, B. I'm just giving you an example in terms of variables. Okay, has taken A, B into study, but not C. Okay, or some author has taken A component, A variable, and C, but not B. So why? So there is a gap. So why? Okay, just to give an example. So this is very important. That is preliminary literature. But as you read for a new early budding researcher, as you read, you will get an understanding about the works that is existing in your literature. And it's still, if in case if you have any doubts, clarifications, you'll always DM me. All right. The fifth one is the theoretical framework. What do you mean by it? It is mainly you have to talk about the theories that is backing up your study. So when I talk about migrant workers, so what are the theories that um, theorists have used to study about migrant workers? Specialization of labor, like that division of labor, just to give you an idea. So this is what it means, a theoretical framework. So with this, I will stop the part one series of what are the components, what are the elements of the research proposal. I hope you like this video and please like it, subscribe my channel and give me comments below the section so that I can continue with the next part of the series. Thank you.